In the year 2847, Earth was a planet unlike any other in the galaxy. Humanity had reached heights no one could have imagined centuries earlier. Gone were the days of petty wars over borders or resources. Instead, humanity stood united under one global government, working together to explore the stars and build relationships with alien civilizations. Technology had advanced so far that sickness, hunger, and poverty were things of the past. People lived longer, happier lives, and Earth itself thrived as humans learned to protect their home while exploring the vastness of space. But on this particular day, something strange happened. Something no one expected. It started with a message. Not just any message, but one sent directly to the United Galactic Council, the organization responsible for maintaining peace between Earth and other intelligent species across the galaxy. The council members gathered in their sleek, high-tech meeting room, located deep beneath the surface of Earth's capital city. The walls shimmered with holographic displays showing star maps and data streams, but everyone ignored them as they stared at the glowing screen in front of them. The message came from an alien race called the Zorathians. They were well known throughout the galaxy, not because they were powerful warriors or brilliant inventors, but because they were peacemakers. For over 3,000 years, the Zorathians had acted as mediators, stepping in to resolve disputes between warring planets and helping others find common ground. Their reputation was untouchable, and their word carried immense weight. So when the council received the transmission, curiosity quickly turned into unease. The voice on the other end wasn't warm or friendly like it usually was during diplomatic exchanges. It was cold, sharp, and filled with anger. "This is Xylar, leader of the Zorathian Empire," the voice said, echoing through the chamber. "We end our 3,000 years of neutrality. Prepare for war." Silence followed. No one spoke. No one moved. The council members exchanged glances, their faces pale with shock. War? From the Zorathians? It didn't make sense. This was the same species that had brokered countless treaties and stopped hundreds of conflicts before they escalated. Why would they suddenly declare war after thousands of years of peace? Dr. Emily Grant, a historian who specialized in studying alien cultures, cleared her throat nervously. She leaned forward, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. "Could this be some kind of misunderstanding?" she asked cautiously. "Maybe there's been interference with the signal?" Commander Ryan Cole, the head of Earth's Defense Forces, shook his head. His expression was grim. "It's authentic," he said firmly. "Our systems confirmed it. That message came straight from their flagship." The room buzzed with murmurs as everyone tried to process what they'd heard. Some suggested sending a response immediately, asking for clarification. Others argued that preparations for battle should begin right away. But despite the tension in the air, none of them could shake the feeling that something about this situation felt off. Meanwhile, outside the council chambers, life on Earth continued as usual. News of the Zorathians' declaration hadn't yet reached the general public, so most people remained blissfully unaware of the potential threat looming above them. In a small cafe in New York City, Caleb Harris sat at a corner table sipping his coffee. He scrolled through his tablet, reading articles about the latest advancements in space travel. Across from him, his best friend Mia Lopez laughed at a funny video someone had shared online. "You won't believe this," Mia said, holding up her phone. "Some guy claims he saw a UFO last night, says it looked like a giant floating jellyfish." She giggled, shaking her head. "People will believe anything these days," Caleb smirked. "Well, maybe it was a UFO," he teased. "Aliens probably think we're hilarious. Imagine landing here and seeing all the ridiculous stuff we do." Mia rolled her eyes playfully. "Yeah, sure, like aliens are just going to show up out of nowhere and start chatting with us. What are they going to say? Hey humans, how's it going?" Little did they know their casual conversation would soon become eerily prophetic. By mid-afternoon, rumors began spreading across social media. Someone leaked details of the Zorathians' message, and within hours the entire planet was buzzing with speculation. At first, many dismissed it as a hoax. After all, why would the famously peaceful Zorathians suddenly declare war? It sounded too absurd to be true. Memes flooded the internet, poking fun at the idea of aliens attacking Earth. One popular image showed a cartoon alien holding a sign that read, "We come in peace, unless you steal our parking spot." Even those who took the news more seriously couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for the possibility of an alien invasion, investing billions in weapons and defense systems. And now, when the moment finally arrived, the invaders turned out to be the galaxy's biggest pacifists. It was almost laughable. At a local park, Ethan Kim, a tech blogger known for his witty commentary on interstellar affairs, set up his camera to record a live stream. Behind him, children played on swings while parents chatted idly on benches. The scene was so ordinary that it seemed impossible to reconcile with the idea of impending doom. "So, apparently the Zorathians want to pick a fight with us," Ethan began, addressing his audience with a grin. "I mean, come on, guys. These are the same aliens who helped negotiate peace treaties between warring factions on Vega 5. Remember that whole mess with the Krillians and the Vortaxians? Yeah, the Zorathians fixed that, and now they're threatening us? What did we even do to them?" His viewers loved it. Comments poured in, praising Ethan's humor and sharing their own jokes about the situation. Some suggested organizing a welcome party for the aliens, complete with music and snacks. Others joked about teaching the Zorathians how to use hashtags properly if they ever decided to invade Twitter instead of Earth. Back in the council chambers, however, the mood remained tense. Dr. Emily Grant stood up, pacing slowly as she addressed the group. "We need to understand why they're doing this," she said earnestly. "There has to be a reason behind their actions. Something must have driven them to break their long-standing tradition of neutrality." Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "Agreed. But until we figure that out, we can't afford to let our guard down. If they're serious about attacking, we need to be ready." As the meeting dragged on, plans for defense strategies unfolded. Earth's military prepared its fleets, arming every ship with cutting-edge technology designed to repel any attack. Automated drones patrolled the skies, scanning for signs of incoming threats. Energy shields surrounded major cities, ensuring civilians would remain safe regardless of what happened. Yet despite these precautions, there was a lingering sense of disbelief among both leaders and citizens alike. How could anyone take the Zorathians' threat seriously? They were diplomats, not warriors. Their ships were outdated compared to Earth's modern vessels. Even their weapons seemed primitive by human standards. It was hard to imagine them posing any real danger. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia and Caleb found themselves discussing the situation again. They sat on Caleb's apartment balcony, watching the city lights flicker to life below them. "Do you think it's true?" Mia asked quietly. "About the Zorathians wanting to attack us?" Caleb shrugged, taking a sip of his drink. "Honestly, I don't know. But if they do, I'm not losing sleep over it. We've got nothing to worry about. Our defenses are unbeatable." Mia tilted her head, considering his words. "Still, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, why now? Why after all this time?" Caleb smiled faintly. "Maybe they're jealous. You know, tired of us being the cool kids on the block." Mia laughed, softly, though her gaze lingered on the distant stars twinkling in the night sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of Earth's comforting glow, the Zorathians waited. Whether they truly intended to wage war, or simply needed someone to listen, only time would tell. For now, humanity could do little more than brace itself, and maybe share a few more laughs along the way. The next morning, the United Galactic Council reconvened in their high-tech meeting room. The tension from the previous day still lingered, but there was a new sense of urgency in the air. Everyone knew they couldn't afford to ignore the Zorathians' threat, no matter how absurd it seemed. Dr. Emily Grant stood at the center of the room, her hands clasped tightly as she prepared to address the group. She had spent the night poring over historical records and analyzing every interaction Earth had ever had with the Zorathians. Now, she was ready to share what she'd learned. "Before we jump to conclusions," Emily began, her voice calm but firm, "we need to understand who the Zorathians are and why they might be doing this. She activated a holographic display, which projected an image of the Zorathian home planet into the center of the room. It was a beautiful world, covered in lush green forests and shimmering oceans. But despite its beauty, there was something unsettling about it. The colors seemed slightly faded, as though the planet itself was slowly losing its vitality. For thousands of years, Emily continued, the Zorathians have been known as peacemakers. They've mediated conflicts, brokered treaties, and helped countless civilizations avoid war. Their role in the galaxy has always been one of neutrality. They don't take sides. They simply try to keep the peace. Commander Ryan Cole leaned forward, his brow furrowed. So why would they suddenly abandon that? What could possibly drive them to declare war after all this time? Emily hesitated, choosing her words carefully. That's the question we need to answer. But based on my research, I believe there's more to this than meets the eye. The Zorathians aren't warriors by nature. Their society is built around cooperation and diplomacy. If they're threatening us now, it's because they feel they have no other choice. Her words sent a ripple through the room. Some council members nodded thoughtfully, while others exchanged skeptical glances. It was hard to imagine the peaceful Zorathians being pushed to such extremes. But Emily wasn't finished yet. There's another factor we need to consider, she said, pulling up a series of graphs and charts on the holographic display. Over the past few centuries, the Zorathians' planet has been showing signs of decline. Their resources are dwindling, their ecosystems are collapsing, and their population is shrinking. We've known about this for years, but we assumed they were handling it internally. Maybe they're not. Ryan frowned. You think they're attacking us because they're desperate? Because they need our resources? It's possible, Emily admitted. If their planet is dying, they might see conquest as their only option. But even so, declaring war goes against everything they stand for. There has to be another layer to this, something we're missing. As the council debated the implications of Emily's findings, news of the Zorathians' threat continued to spread across Earth. By now, nearly everyone had heard about the message. Social media platforms were flooded with reactions ranging from fear to amusement. In a small town in Colorado, a group of teenagers gathered in a diner, laughing as they scrolled through memes about the impending alien invasion. I swear, if they show up, I'm just going to offer them some coffee, joked Lucas Bennett, a lanky boy with messy brown hair. He took a sip from his mug and grinned at his friends. Maybe they'll leave us alone if we're nice. His friend Harper, Simmons, rolled her eyes. Yeah, right, aliens don't care about coffee, Lucas. They probably drink lava or something. Everyone laughed, but deep down none of them were truly worried. To them, the idea of aliens attacking Earth felt like something out of a sci-fi movie, not real life. After all, humanity had faced countless threats before, both natural and artificial, and always come out on top. Why should this be any different? Even adults struggled to take the situation seriously. At a community center in Chicago, a group of retirees sat around a table playing cards. One of them, a woman named Patricia, glanced up from her hand and chuckled. Did you hear about those aliens? She asked, shaking her head. They've been peaceful for 3,000 years and now they want to fight us? Sounds like someone needs a nap. Her friends burst into laughter, agreeing wholeheartedly. For most people, the Zorathians' declaration seemed less like a credible threat and more like a bizarre misunderstanding. Some even started organizing events to celebrate humanity's resilience. In Los Angeles, a festival called Laugh at the Aliens Day drew huge crowds with attendees dressing up in costumes and holding signs that read, "Bring it on," and "We've got snacks." Despite the widespread mockery, not everyone was laughing. Dr. Emily Grant couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. As she left the council chambers later that afternoon, she found herself replaying the Zorathians' message in her mind. The tone of Xylar's voice, the raw anger and frustration, had struck a chord with her. It didn't sound like the voice of a conqueror. It sounded like the voice of someone backed into a corner, fighting for survival. Determined to dig deeper, Emily returned to her office and began reviewing old transmissions from the Zorathians. She listened to recordings of their diplomatic speeches, analyzed their cultural artifacts, and studied reports from human ambassadors who had visited their planet. Slowly, a pattern began to emerge. Over the years, the Zorathians' messages had grown increasingly urgent. Their pleas for cooperation had turned into desperate calls for help. And yet, no one had paid attention. "They've been trying to tell us something," Emily muttered to herself, pacing back and forth. "But we weren't listening." Her assistant, a young man named Alex Carter, looked up from his computer screen. "What do you mean?" Emily stopped pacing and turned to face him. "Think about it. Their planet is dying and they've been reaching out for assistance. But instead of offering aid, we assumed they could handle it themselves. Maybe this declaration of war isn't about aggression. It's about desperation. They've run out of options, and now they're forcing us to take notice." Alex frowned. "But why attack Earth specifically? There are plenty of other planets in the galaxy with resources they could target." "That's a good question," Emily admitted, "and I don't have an answer yet. But I think it's worth considering that Earth might represent something more to them than just a source of supplies. Perhaps they see us as a symbol of hope or a threat to their survival." While Emily worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery, Commander Ryan Cole focused on preparing Earth's defenses. He knew better than to underestimate any potential enemy, no matter how unlikely they seemed. Under his leadership, Earth's military forces conducted drills and simulations, testing their readiness for battle. Automated drones patrolled the skies, scanning for any sign of the Zorathian fleet. Energy shields surrounded major cities, ensuring civilians would remain safe regardless of what happened. But even as he oversaw these preparations, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something about this situation felt off. The Zorathians' behavior didn't align with what he knew about their culture. They were diplomats, not soldiers. Their ships were outdated, their weapons primitive. How could they possibly hope to defeat Earth's advanced technology? One evening, as Ryan sat in his office reviewing tactical plans, his phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was Mia Lopez, a journalist who had been covering the unfolding crisis. She had interviewed him several times before, and her sharp questions often forced him to think critically about the decisions he made. "Commander Cole," Mia said when he answered, her tone serious. "I need to ask you something. Do you really think the Zorathians are going to attack us?" Ryan sighed, leaning back in his chair. "To be honest, I don't know. Everything about this situation feels strange, but until we have definitive proof that they're not a threat, we have to prepare for the worst." Mia paused, considering his words. What if they're not trying to attack us? What if they're trying to communicate in the only way they think will get our attention? Ryan frowned. "You mean like a cry for help?" "Exactly," Mia replied. "Think about it. If their planet is dying, and they've been ignored for years, maybe declaring war was the only way they could make us listen." Ryan didn't respond immediately. He stared out the window at the city skyline, his mind racing. Mia's theory made sense, but it raised more questions than answers. If the Zorathians were truly desperate, why hadn't they reached out directly? Why resort to threats instead of diplomacy? "I'll look into it," Ryan finally said. "But, in the meantime, we can't afford to let our guard down." As the days passed, tensions continued to mount. The Zorathians' fleet remained stationed near Jupiter's orbit, their presence a constant reminder of the uncertainty hanging over Earth. Civilians tried to go about their daily lives, but the shadow of potential conflict loomed large. In schools, teachers struggled to reassure anxious students. In workplaces, colleagues whispered about evacuation plans. Even in quiet neighborhoods, conversations revolved around the same question: what happens next? For Caleb Harris and Mia Lopez, the waiting game was particularly frustrating. They had gone from joking about the situation to feeling increasingly uneasy. One evening, as they sat on Caleb's balcony watching the stars, Mia voiced what they were both thinking. "This doesn't feel right," she said softly. "Something about this whole thing feels wrong." The day finally came when the Zorathians made their move. Their massive fleet of ships, though outdated by human standards, cast long shadows over Earth's atmosphere as they approached from Jupiter's orbit. The sight was both awe-inspiring and surreal. Millions watched live broadcasts of the alien armada on their screens, their reactions ranging from nervous laughter to stunned silence. Despite the tension in the air, there was still a lingering sense of disbelief. How could these aliens, who had spent millennia as peacemakers, really intend to wage war? Commander Ryan Cole stood aboard the Eclipse, Earth's flagship vessel, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the positions of the Zorathian fleet. Around him, officers worked tirelessly at their stations, monitoring every movement of the approaching ships. Ryan's expression was calm, but inside, he felt a strange mix of unease and curiosity. He couldn't shake the feeling that something about this confrontation wasn't adding up. "Sir," said Lieutenant Harper Lewis, one of the communications officers, breaking the quiet hum of activity. "They're attempting to establish contact." Ryan nodded. "Put them through." A moment later, the bridge fell silent as the image of Xylar, the Zorathian leader, appeared on the main screen. His appearance was striking. His skin shimmered with an iridescent blue hue, and his elongated limbs gave him an almost otherworldly presence. But it was his eyes that drew the most attention. They burned with an intensity that made everyone in the room uneasy. This wasn't the face of a peaceful diplomat. It was the face of someone ready to fight. "This is Commander Ryan Cole of Earth's United Galactic Defense Force," Ryan began, his voice steady. "What are your intentions?" Xylar's response came swiftly, his tone sharp and unyielding. "You know why we are here. We have declared war. Surrender now, or face annihilation." The words sent a ripple through the bridge. Some officers exchanged worried glances while others clenched their fists in determination. But Ryan didn't flinch. Instead, a small smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. He leaned forward slightly, his gaze locking onto Xylar's. "You're kidding, right?" Ryan replied, his tone laced with disbelief. "You've been peacekeepers for thousands of years. Now you're threatening us? Do you really expect us to take this seriously?" Xylar's expression darkened. His jaw tightened, and his glowing eyes narrowed into slits. "Do not mock us, human. Your arrogance will be your downfall." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Arrogance? We're just trying to understand what's going on here. You show up out of nowhere, declare war, and expect us to roll over without asking questions? That doesn't sound like diplomacy, it sounds like desperation." The comment struck a nerve. For a brief moment, Xylar hesitated, his composure faltering. It was subtle, but Ryan noticed it. There was something beneath the anger, a flicker of uncertainty, perhaps even fear. Before Xylar could respond, Ryan pressed on. "If you really want to fight, fine. But I think you're barking up the wrong tree. Earth isn't some weak planet you can bully into submission. If you're looking for resources, maybe we can work something out. Declaring war isn't exactly the best way to start a negotiation." Xylar's voice rose, filled with barely contained rage. "Enough. You humans are blind to your own destruction. We will not be ignored any longer." With that, the transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in silence. Ryan straightened, his smirk fading as he turned to address his crew. "Well, that went well." Lieutenant Harper cleared her throat. "Do you think they'll actually attack, sir?" Ryan exhaled slowly, his mind racing. "Honestly, I don't know, but if they do, we're ready." Back on Earth, news of the exchange spread quickly. Social media erupted once again, this time with clips of Ryan's conversation with Xylar. People loved his nonchalant attitude, especially his casual dismissal of the Zorathians' threats. Memes flooded the internet within minutes, many featuring Ryan's smirk alongside captions like, "When aliens try to flex but fail," and "Aliens mad because we called their bluff." In a cozy cafe in New York City, Caleb Harris and Mia Lopez sat together, watching the footage on Caleb's tablet. They laughed along with the rest of the world, finding humor in the absurdity of the situation. "I can't believe he just said that," Mia said, shaking her head in amusement. She took a sip of her coffee and grinned. "You're kidding, right?" "Classic," Caleb chuckled. "I mean, come on, can you blame him? These guys are supposed to be the galaxy's peacemakers. Now they're acting like supervillains from a bad movie." Mia tilted her head thoughtfully. Still, you have to admit there's something weird about all this. Why would they pick a fight with us if they're so desperate? Wouldn't it make more sense to ask for help instead of declaring war? Caleb shrugged. Maybe they tried asking before and got ignored. Or maybe they think we won't listen unless they scare us first. Mia frowned, her smile fading slightly. That's kind of sad, though. Imagine being so desperate that you feel like your only option is violence. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert on Caleb's tablet. A notification flashed across the screen. Zorathian fleet initiates first attack. Both Caleb and Mia froze, their laughter dying instantly. Oh crap, Caleb muttered, staring at the screen. Guess they weren't joking after all. High, above Earth's atmosphere, the Zorathians launched their assault. Waves of sleek, triangular ships descended toward the planet, firing beams of energy at automated drone patrols and defense satellites. To the untrained eye, it looked like chaos. Explosions lit up the sky and alarms blared across military channels. But to those familiar with Earth's technology, the attack was laughably ineffective. The drones, controlled by advanced artificial intelligence, dodged the Zorathians' clumsy attempts at targeting. Energy shields surrounding major cities absorbed the blast without so much as a flicker. Within minutes, the invaders realized their weapons were no match for Earth's defenses. Still, they pressed on, their determination fueled by desperation, rather than strategy. On the Eclipse, Ryan watched the battle unfold with a mixture of fascination and pity. The Zorathians' tactics were rudimentary at best, relying on brute force rather than precision. It was clear they hadn't anticipated humanity's level of technological advancement. "Sir," Lieutenant Harper reported, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Their weapons aren't penetrating our shields. We're not sustaining any damage." Ryan nodded. "Just as I thought. They're outmatched. Hold position and continue monitoring. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary." As the minutes ticked by, the Zorathians grew increasingly frustrated. Their ships swarmed around Earth like angry bees, launching wave after wave of attacks, only to be met with failure. Back on the ground, civilians gathered in parks and rooftops, watching the spectacle unfold in the night sky. Some recorded videos while others simply pointed and laughed. It was hard to take the invasion seriously when it looked more like a poorly choreographed light show than an actual threat. In Los Angeles, Ethan Kim set up his camera once again to live stream the battle. Behind him, the city skyline glowed against the backdrop of flashing lights from the skirmish above. Ethan adjusted his headset and grinned at the camera. "Well, folks, looks like the aliens finally decided to show up," he said, his tone playful. "Too bad for them, they picked the wrong planet to mess with. Check it out, our drones are dancing circles around their ships. It's like watching a cat toy a mouse." His audience loved it. Comments poured in, praising Ethan's commentary, and sharing their own jokes about the failed invasion. One viewer wrote, "Aliens mad because we upgraded our tech while they were busy mediating disputes." Another added, "Plot twist. They're here to steal Wi-Fi, not conquer." Despite the levity, not everyone was amused. Dr. Emily Grant watched the battle unfold from her office, her heart heavy with concern. She couldn't help but feel sorry for the Zorathians. Their desperation was palpable, even from afar. Whatever had driven them to this point, it wasn't malice, it was survival. "They're not fighters," Emily murmured to herself, her gaze fixed on the glowing dots in the sky. "They're survivors, and we're treating them like a joke." Her assistant, Alex Carter, looked up from his computer. "What do you mean?" Emily sighed. "Think about it. Their planet is dying and they've been ignored for years. Now, they're trying to force us to pay attention, but we're laughing at them instead. What does that say about us?" Alex frowned, considering her words. "So what should we do? Just hand over our resources and hope they leave us alone?" "No," Emily replied firmly. "But maybe there's another way. Maybe we can find a solution that works for both sides." As the battle raged on, Ryan received another update from the bridge. "Sir, the Zorathians are retreating," Lieutenant Harper announced. "Their ships are regrouping near Jupiter's orbit." Ryan nodded, unsurprised. They'll be back, this isn't over. He stepped closer to the window, gazing out at the stars. The Zorathians' first attempt had failed miserably, but Ryan knew better than to underestimate them. Desperation could drive even the most peaceful species to unimaginable lengths, and until humanity understood the true reason behind their actions, the threat would remain. For now, the skies above Earth were calm once again. Civilians returned to their homes, laughing and sharing stories of the alien invasion that wasn't. But deep down, a question lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed the exchange. The aftermath of the Zorathians' failed attack left Earth in a strange state of limbo. On one hand, humanity had emerged victorious without firing a single shot. Automated drones and energy shields had done their job perfectly, repelling the invaders with ease. On the other hand, no one could shake the feeling that this wasn't truly over. The Zorathians had retreated, yes, but their desperation was evident. They weren't fighters by nature, yet they had thrown themselves into battle anyway. That kind of determination hinted at something deeper, something unresolved. Commander Ryan Cole stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, staring at the holographic display showing the Zorathian fleet regrouping near Jupiter's orbit. His hands were clasped behind his back and his expression was unreadable. Around him, officers continued monitoring the situation, their voices low as they discussed possible next steps. But Ryan's mind was elsewhere. He kept replaying his conversation with Xylar, the Zorathian leader, trying to piece together the puzzle. "Sir," Lieutenant Harper Lewis said, breaking the silence. "What are your orders? Should we pursue them?" Ryan shook his head. "No, let them regroup. Chasing them now would only escalate things unnecessarily." Harper frowned. "But what if they come back stronger next time? We can't keep assuming our defenses will hold forever." "You're right," Ryan admitted. "But I don't think they'll give up easily. Something is driving them, and until we figure out what it is, attacking won't solve anything." As the discussion continued, news of the Zorathians' retreat spread across Earth. Social media buzzed with reactions, ranging from relief to mockery. In New York City, Caleb Harris and Mia Lopez sat together in a cozy cafe, scrolling through updates on their tablets. Memes about the failed invasion dominated their feeds, many poking fun at the Zorathians' outdated tactics. "I still can't believe how bad they were," Caleb said, chuckling as he scrolled past a meme comparing the alien ships to old video game graphics. "It's like they didn't even try." Mia nodded, though her smile was faint. "Yeah, but you have to wonder, why did they even bother? If they knew we were this advanced, why attack at all?" Caleb shrugged. "Maybe they thought we were bluffing. Or maybe they're just really desperate." Mia sighed, setting her tablet aside. "That's what worries me. Desperation makes people do crazy things. What if they come back with something worse?" Before Caleb could respond, the cafe's TV switched to a live broadcast featuring Dr. Emily Grant. She was being interviewed by a popular news anchor, her calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the chaos of recent events. The anchor asked her, directly, "Do you think the Zorathians will return?" Emily hesitated before answering. "I believe they will. Their first attempt may have failed, but their reasons for attacking haven't changed. Whatever is driving them, whether it's survival or something else, they won't stop until they achieve their goal." Her words sent a ripple through the audience. While some dismissed her concerns as overly cautious, others began to realize the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just about aliens trying to invade Earth. It was about understanding why they felt they had no other choice. Meanwhile, aboard the Zorathian flagship, Xylar paced furiously in his command chamber. His glowing blue skin seemed darker than usual, reflecting the storm brewing inside him. Around him, his advisors whispered nervously, unsure how to address their leader's growing frustration. "They laughed at us," Xylar growled, slamming his fist against a control panel. "They mocked us like we were children playing at war." One of his advisors stepped forward cautiously. "My lord, perhaps we underestimated them." Their technology is far more advanced than we anticipated. Xylar turned sharply, his piercing eyes locking onto the advisor. And whose fault is that? For centuries, we've relied on diplomacy and negotiation. Look where it has gotten us. Our planet is dying and no one, not even these arrogant humans, will lift a finger to help. The room fell silent. Everyone knew Xylar spoke the truth. The Zorathians had spent millennia helping others, mediating disputes and maintaining peace. But when it came to their own survival, they had been ignored. Now, faced with extinction, they saw no other option but to fight. We cannot fail again, Xylar declared, his voice rising. If Earth refuses to surrender, then we must find another way. Prepare the ground forces. We will target their cities directly. The advisors exchanged uneasy glances, but dared not argue. Orders were given, and preparations began for a second wave of attacks. This time, the Zorathians wouldn't rely solely on their ships. They would send troops to Earth's surface, forcing humanity to confront them face to face. Back on Earth, Dr. Emily Grant couldn't stop thinking about the Zorathians' plight. She spent hours reviewing data, analyzing reports, and consulting with experts in environmental science. Slowly, a clearer picture began to emerge. The Zorathians' home planet wasn't just declining, it was on the brink of collapse. Its ecosystems were failing, its resources nearly depleted, and its population dwindling rapidly. Without intervention, the species would likely go extinct within decades. But there was another detail that troubled Emily. According to historical records, the Zorathians had reached out to several planets in the past, including Earth, seeking assistance. Their requests had been polite and formal, framed as diplomatic inquiries rather than pleas for help. And each time, they had been met with indifference or outright rejection. They tried asking nicely, Emily muttered to herself, pacing her office. But no one listened, so they resorted to threats. Her assistant, Alex Carter, looked up from his computer. You think this whole thing is their way of getting attention? Exactly, Emily replied. They've been ignored for so long that declaring war was the only way they thought we'd take them seriously. Alex frowned. But why attack Earth specifically? There are plenty of other planets with resources they could target. Emily paused, considering the question. Earth is different. We're young compared to most civilizations, but we've advanced quickly. Maybe they see us as a symbol of hope, or a threat to their survival. Either way, they chose us because they believe we have what they need. As the day wore on, Emily drafted a proposal outlining a potential solution. Instead of continuing to treat the Zorathians as enemies, she suggested reaching out to them with an offer of aid. Humanity could share its technology and expertise, helping the Zorathians stabilize their planet without resorting to violence. It was risky, given the current tension, but it might be the only way to avoid further conflict. That evening, Commander Ryan Cole received an unexpected visitor aboard the Eclipse. It was Mia Lopez, the journalist who had interviewed him earlier. She carried a small recording device and a notebook, her expression serious. Commander, she began, stepping into his office, I need to ask you something important. Do you think we're looking at this situation the wrong way? Ryan raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Mia hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Everyone keeps talking about the Zorathians, as invaders, as enemies. But what if they're not? What if they're just desperate? Wouldn't it make more sense to find out what they want instead of waiting for them to attack again? Ryan leaned back in his chair, studying her closely. You're suggesting we negotiate with them? Not exactly, Mia replied. I'm saying we should listen. Try to understand where they're coming from. Maybe there's a way to resolve this without fighting. Ryan was quiet for a moment, his mind racing. Mia's words echoed Emily's theory, and he couldn't deny the logic behind them. The Zorathians weren't natural warriors. Their actions screamed desperation, not aggression. Perhaps it was time to change tactics. All right, Ryan said finally. Let's assume you're right. How do you propose we start? Mia smiled faintly. By showing them we're willing to talk. Send a message, an open invitation to discuss their concerns. Let them know we're listening. Ryan nodded slowly. It's worth a shot, but if they refuse, we'll need to be ready for whatever comes next. As Mia left the ship, Ryan turned to his communications officer. Draft a message to the Zorathians. Tell them we're open to dialogue. No threats, no demands, just a chance to talk. The officer saluted. Yes, sir. Hours later, the message was sent. It traveled across the vast expanse of space, reaching the Zorathian fleet near Jupiter's orbit. When Xylar received it, he stared at the screen in disbelief. The humans were offering to listen, to negotiate. It was the last thing he expected after their earlier mockery. What is this? Xylar demanded, turning to his advisors. A trick? A delay tactic? One advisor stepped forward cautiously. Perhaps they are sincere. If they are willing to talk, it could buy us time to plan our next move. Xylar clenched his fists, torn between suspicion and hope. After a long pause, he made his decision. Very well. We will hear what they have to say, but if this is a deception, they will regret it. As the Zorathians prepared for the meeting, Earth braced itself for the unknown. Civilians continued, going about their daily lives, laughing and joking about the aliens' failed invasion. But beneath the surface, a shift was happening. People were beginning to realize that this wasn't just about defending their planet. It was about understanding the beings who had come to them in desperation. For now, the skies above Earth remained calm. But everyone knew the real challenge lay ahead, whether humanity and the Zorathians could bridge the gap between them. The message from Earth reached the Zorathian fleet, and for the first time since their arrival, there was a pause in the tension. Xylar sat in his command chamber, staring at the holographic projection of the human transmission. The words were simple but carried a weight that made him uneasy. Humanity was offering to listen, to talk. It wasn't an apology or a surrender, but it wasn't hostility either. For a species as desperate as the Zorathians, it felt like both an opportunity and a trap. Xylar's advisors gathered around him, their voices low as they debated the implications. Some argued that the humans were stalling, buying time to strengthen their defenses. Others believed it might be genuine, an attempt to avoid further bloodshed. But no one could deny the significance of the gesture. For centuries, the Zorathians had tried to communicate through formal channels only to be ignored. Now humanity was reaching out even after being attacked. This could be a trick, one advisor said cautiously. They may intend to ambush us during negotiations. Or it could be our chance, another countered. If we refuse to engage, we risk losing the only opportunity we have left. Xylar clenched his fists, his glowing blue skin flickering faintly with frustration. He wanted to believe the humans were sincere, but trust didn't come easily. Not anymore. Still, he knew they couldn't afford to ignore the offer. If this was truly a path to survival, turning away would mean sealing their fate. Prepare. A response, Xylar ordered finally. Tell them we will meet, but on our terms, and ensure our fleet remains ready. If this is a deception, we will strike back without hesitation. On Earth, Commander Ryan Cole waited anxiously for the Zorathians' reply. The message had been sent hours ago, and while he hoped it would lead to dialogue, he couldn't shake the feeling that things might not go smoothly. Humanity had shown its strength in repelling the initial attack, but Ryan knew that real progress wouldn't come from displays of power. It would come from understanding. In the meantime, life on Earth continued as usual. People went about their days laughing off the idea of an alien invasion that had fizzled out so spectacularly. In schools, teachers struggled to keep students focused as conversations drifted toward the Zorathians. One teacher, Mia Lopez, found herself answering endless questions from her curious fifth-grade class. "Do you think the aliens are really coming back?" asked a boy named Liam, his eyes wide with excitement. Mia smiled gently, leaning against her desk. "I don't know, Liam. Maybe. But what do you think they want?" Liam tilted his head thoughtfully. "Maybe they're just lonely, maybe they don't have anyone to play with." The class erupted into giggles, but Mia nodded seriously. "That's actually not a bad idea. Sometimes people or aliens do strange things when they feel alone or scared. Her words resonated more than she realized. Across the planet, people were beginning to wonder the same thing. Social media campaigns emerged, encouraging humanity to view the Zorathians not as enemies, but as neighbors in need. Memes and jokes still flooded the internet, but alongside them were heartfelt messages urging compassion and empathy. In Los Angeles, Ethan Kim filmed another live stream, this time focusing on the growing movement of kindness. Behind him, volunteers painted banners with phrases like, "Welcome to Earth" and "We're here to help." Ethan grinned at the camera as he gestured to the bustling scene. "Looks like some folks aren't taking the alien invasion lying down," he joked. "Instead of fighting back, they're rolling out the red carpet. Who knows, maybe a little hospitality is all these guys need." His viewers loved it, many chiming in with their own ideas for welcoming the Zorathians. Some suggested organizing interstellar bake sales, while others proposed sending care packages into space. The absurdity of it all brought laughter, but beneath the humor was a genuine desire to connect. Dr. Emily Grant spent the day working tirelessly to draft a proposal for aiding the Zorathians. She collaborated with scientists, engineers, and environmental experts, pooling resources and brainstorming solutions. Her goal was clear: to show the Zorathians that humanity wasn't just willing to talk, they were ready to act. "We can share our technology," Emily explained during a meeting with her team. "Our advancements in sustainable energy, agriculture, and ecosystem restoration could give them a fighting chance. But we need to present it in a way that feels like collaboration, not charity." Her assistant, Alex Carter, nodded enthusiastically. "What if we involve civilians, too? Let people donate supplies or volunteer their skills. It could turn this into a global effort." Emily smiled. "Exactly. This isn't just about governments or militaries. It's about showing the Zorathians that we care." As the proposal took shape, Emily shared it with key members of the United Galactic Council. To her relief, they agreed to support the initiative, seeing it as a potential breakthrough in resolving the crisis. Plans were set in motion to present the proposal during the upcoming negotiations, if the Zorathians accepted. The response finally came late that evening. The Zorathians agreed to meet, but under strict conditions. They demanded that the location be neutral ground, a remote asteroid floating between Jupiter and Saturn, and insisted that only a small delegation attend. Weapons were forbidden, and any sign of aggression would result in immediate retaliation. Commander Ryan Cole reviewed the terms carefully before accepting. "It's risky," he admitted to Lieutenant Harper Lewis. "But if this works, it could save us from further conflict." Harper frowned. "And if it doesn't?" Ryan's expression hardened. "Then we'll deal with it. But for now, we focus on making this work." The next morning, Ryan boarded a sleek shuttle designed for diplomatic missions. Accompanying him were Dr. Emily Grant, representing Earth's scientific community, and Mia Lopez, whose insights into public sentiment had proven invaluable. As the shuttle launched into space, Ryan stared out the window at the receding curve of Earth. The stakes were high, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting might change everything. When the shuttle arrived at the designated asteroid, the Zorathians were already waiting. Their ships loomed ominously in the distance, their angular designs casting long shadows across the barren rock. A single transport vessel approached the shuttle, carrying Xylar and a small group of advisors. As the two parties disembarked, the tension was palpable. Xylar stepped forward, his glowing eyes fixed on Ryan. "You come unarmed, as promised, but trust is fragile." Ryan nodded, keeping his tone calm and respectful. "We're here to listen, not to fight. That's why we've come unarmed." For a moment, Xylar studied him silently, searching for any sign of deception. Then, with a slight nod, he gestured for his advisors to join the discussion. The two groups gathered around a makeshift table, their expressions cautious but hopeful. Emily took the lead, presenting Earth's proposal with clarity and conviction. She explained how humanity could share its technology and expertise, helping the Zorathians stabilize their planet without resorting to violence. Her words were met with skepticism at first, but as she elaborated, Xylar's advisors began to exchange intrigued glances. "What you offer is generous," Xylar said finally, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "But why? After we attacked your world? Why would you help us?" Emily hesitated before responding. "Because we understand desperation. We've faced extinction before, and we know what it's like to feel powerless. If we can prevent another species from suffering the same fate, then it's worth the risk." Her honesty seemed to resonate with Xylar. His rigid posture softened slightly, and for the first time he looked less like a warrior and more like a leader burdened by impossible choices. "We will consider your proposal," Xylar said, his tone measured. "But know this. If you betray us, there will be consequences." Ryan nodded solemnly. "Understood. But I hope we can move forward together, not as enemies, but as allies." As the meeting concluded, both sides returned to their ships, each carrying a glimmer of hope. For the first time since the Zorathians' arrival, the possibility of peace felt within reach. Back on Earth, people watched live broadcasts of the negotiations, their laughter giving way to quiet optimism. In New York City, Caleb Harris sat on his apartment balcony, gazing up at the stars. Beside him, Mia's tablet displayed updates from the meeting. He smiled faintly, shaking his head in disbelief. "Who would have thought," Caleb murmured, "that the key to stopping an alien invasion would be kindness?" Mia chuckled softly, her gaze following his to the night sky. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the hardest to see." As the asteroid faded into the darkness, humanity held its breath, waiting to see whether compassion could bridge the gap between two worlds, or if the fragile thread of trust would snap under the weight of fear and misunderstanding.